good evening and welcome to the Monday edition of Source 16 News at 10. Thanks for joining us. New this hour, the Hopkinsville Surface and Stormwater Utility Board announced tonight during their regular meeting that they have applied for $8 million worth of federal funding. According to Community Development Services Director Steve Bourne, the money is funded by FEMA's Hazard Mitigation Grant Program and will help pay for drainage and flooding projects. In other business, the board approved their June expenses worth over $171,000.
We received some reimbursements on the Rose Acre grant, which is at $59,286, and the Morningside grant, which is $17,429. So our total revenues for the month was $162,897. Turning over to the next page, which is our expense page. All the expenses are pretty much in keeping with our contract. I did want to point out a couple of things for you. One is you see the UDAG loan repayment at $50,000. That's the fourth payment, and I think Rob told me we got one more payment left, and we will be done with that. So.
Meanwhile, residents of Roney Drive, who have suffered years of flooding in the neighborhood, may be getting some much-needed relief. During tonight's meeting, board members approved purchasing steel pipes to replace the current pipes in the area.
My particular yard, as well as the two next to me, once the rain has stopped and the waters have receded, the water will stand in our yards for 3, 4, 5 days. Plan to maybe put a small ditch from, say, our yard out to the street to help move some of that water out to the street. If you put a tile in, you're still going to have to get that water out there before it's going to move out.
According to board members, the city's public works employees will then switch out the old pipes for the new ones. The cost of the remedial project is about $10,000. And speaking of projects, 58 complaints concerning flooding issues and log jams have been resolved, but 4 major log jams remain on the board's list to complete. The board then went into closed session to discuss property acquisition. In other news, a bush hogging accident on Antioch Road in Christian County this morning claimed the life of a Hopkinsville man. 69-year-old James Edward Morris of Antioch Road was pronounced dead on the scene of the accident that occurred in the 5600 block of Antioch Road, according to Christian County Sheriff's Department spokesman Chris Miller. Morris was reportedly found by a motorist around 8:40 lying next to the road with what appeared to be fatal wounds from the bush hog. His tractor was found nearby in the tree line with the bush hog still attached. Based on what was found at the scene, police say it appeared that Morris lost control of the tractor at some point and fell off and was fatally wounded by the bush hog equipment. Meanwhile, a pedestrian was struck and killed in Christian County last night. 35-year-old Brian Sheely of Hopkinsville was attempting to walk across Kentucky 1682 near Prosperity Lane around 9:30 when state police say he walked into the path of a vehicle driven by 69-year-old Sherry Red of Cerulean. Sheely was pronounced dead on the scene by Christian County Deputy Coroner Mike Stokes. A Graves County man was killed in a 2-vehicle wreck in Carlisle County Saturday. Authorities report 84-year-old Basil Teams of Fancy Farm was trying to make a left turn on Kentucky 80 West at the intersection of Carico Road when his car was hit by a truck driven by Brian Fernandez of Arlington. After Teams was extricated from his vehicle, he was taken to Western Baptist Hospital where he was pronounced dead by the McCracken County coroner. Fernandez and his passenger were not injured in the collision. The Fort Campbell community is mourning the death of another Fort Campbell soldier. 27-year-old Sergeant Jeremy Summers of Mount Olivet was killed Thursday after his unit was attacked by small arms fire in Afghanistan. Summers was a fire support specialist assigned to Headquarters and Headquarters Company 4th Brigade Combat Team. He joined the Army in March 2005 and arrived at Fort Campbell in August 2009. Well, a Trigg County man wanted for a 2002 murder turned himself in to Kentucky State Police this morning. Around 8:30, State Police report 39-year-old Claude Russell of Cadiz came to the Trigg County Courthouse where he turned himself in to detectives. Russell was wanted in connection to the June 24, 2002 murder of Chantel Humphreys, who was found shot to death in a field near Wallonia Road off Bearfield Road in Trigg County. After nearly 10 years, a state police detective presented the case last week to the Trigg County Grand Jury, which returned an indictment for murder. Now, this was the second time Russell has been arrested and charged in connection to the murder. He was taken into custody in November 2002, but the prosecutor said there was not enough evidence and a judge dismissed the case. Russell was arrested today and charged with capital murder. He was lodged in the Christian County Jail on a $500,000 cash bond. In other news, a Callaway County man and a Tennessee man were arrested for trafficking meth over the weekend. A joint investigation by State Police, Pinnacle Narcotics Task Force, Murray Police Department, and DEA netted the arrest of Howard Garland of Murray and Andrew Griffin of Puryear, Tennessee. The two men were arrested after a traffic stop Saturday that led to a large amount of methamphetamine being recovered with a street value of $15,000. When a search warrant was obtained for Garland's residence in Callaway County, police say additional amounts of meth and drug paraphernalia were seized. Garland is charged with 3 counts of trafficking in a controlled substance, meth, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Griffin is charged with trafficking in a controlled substance, meth, over 2 grams. Both men were lodged in the Christian County Jail. Well, hard work and perseverance have paid off for 2 military spouses who have teamed up with 2 national organizations to adopt 2 dogs from Afghanistan. We're glad to report tonight OP1, one of the 2 dogs, arrived in the U.S. last night and will soon be joined with his adopted family. Source16 spoke to Amanda Weber, whose family will be adopting OP1.
It's kind of weird at first. Like, I know it's going to be adjustment because he's never been on a leash and all that stuff. We're going to have to work with him a lot, that's for sure. But I mean, it's kind of cool, from Afghanistan. It's different. When people ask, we'll be able to tell a story about it, which is pretty.
According to Weber, the dog is adjusting like a champion and is having a grand time discovering grass. But she says it's hard to pet him and see all the scars and previous injuries from his life without crying. As we previously reported, OP1 and another dog named Smiley reportedly befriended Fort Campbell soldiers at their remote fire base and would accompany them to missions despite the treacherous terrain. Rescue Helpers Incorporated and Puppy Rescue Mission are the 2 organizations who provided transportation for OP1. The city of Hopkinsville continues its plans to beautify the downtown area. Hopkinsville Mayor Dan Kemp says 4 buildings are currently scheduled to be demolished to make room for more parking spaces.
Well, we're always trying to make improvements to our city, and unfortunately sometimes making an improvement requires us to demolish an old building that's not salvageable and does not have any historic significance. And an example of such a building is at 600 South Main Street, across from the old historic courthouse.
According to Mayor Kemp, he hopes to revitalize the downtown area and attract more businesses.
Very important for us who live here to feel good about our inner city and our downtown, and also we want it to show well with visitors. And it's just something that I think is critically important. I've been told that when industrial prospects come to consider locating in the city, they go look at the downtown and see what it's like, because it's an indication of the amount of pride that the residents take in their city.
Kemp says it's been several years since dilapidated buildings have been torn down, but he adds the downtown area will continue to be cleaned up. Kentucky Transportation Cabinet contractors have cranked up for another round of mowing along area highways. Motorists should be alert for mowing crews along major routes such as Interstate 24, the Western Kentucky, Purchase, Pinnacle, and Audubon Parkways, and U.S. highways. Several crews started work last week, and others are heading out along area highways at various locations this week. Spokesman Keith Todd says mowing zones require the same level of caution as any work zone. Motorists should slow down and be alert anytime they enter a mowing zone. Well, former 101st Airborne Division Commander General David Petraeus today relinquished his command of American and coalition forces in Afghanistan. Petraeus handed over his command to General John Allen, who will now be responsible for the 10-year counterinsurgency plan in the war-torn region. During his farewell speech, Petraeus says, quote, "Despite the tremendous progress that has been made in Afghanistan, there is still more work to do." Meanwhile, Fort Campbell's Major General John Campbell will be officially relinquishing his command of the 101st Airborne Division to Major General James McConville on Friday, August 12th. at the parade field. Now here is a look at some upcoming chamber events brought to you by the Hopkinsville Christian County Community Vision Plan. Thursday evening, BB&T, located at 1002 South Virginia Street, will host the Leadership Hopkinsville After Hours Kickoff event from 5 until 6:30. For more information, you can contact the Chamber. One of the Chamber's newest members, 360 Computers, will host a ribbon cutting Wednesday morning, July 27th at 11:30 at 800 South Main Street in downtown Hopkinsville. Parking is available in the Virginia Street parking lot behind the building. Pennyroyal Rural Electric will host an open house ribbon cutting of their new operations center on Thursday, July 28th at 2000 Harrison Street in Hopkinsville. The open house will be at 4:30 that afternoon with the ribbon cutting at 5:15. The Western Kentucky Regional Blood Center will host a 3-day blood drive beginning Tuesday, July 26th through Thursday, July 28th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Bradford Square Mall. For more information, you can contact the Blood Center at 270-885-0728. And a Teacher Appreciation Breakfast and Staff Appreciation Luncheon will be held Monday, August 8th, presented by Murray State University. A highlight of each event will be a video featuring nominees for the Teacher Staff of the Year Awards. For more information or to sponsor a table, contact Cammie Evans at the Chamber at 270-885-9096. These Chamber events are brought to you by the Hopkinsville Christian County Vision Plan.